What's up guys, and welcome to episode 1 of this N8N mini-series. In this video, we're going to be laying the foundation, which is perfect for beginners or anyone who wants to make sure they really understand the concepts of N8N, AI, or automations. We'll cover what workflows actually are, how triggers and nodes work, and the core concepts that power automation in N8N. If you're already familiar with the basics, feel free to skip ahead in this series to more advanced episodes, or please drop a comment below if you'd like to see covered in this entire series. And remember, if you want any of the course materials, feel free to join the school community, which will be linked below, which will have all these course templates as well as many other ones which you will be able to download completely and use for your everyday life. So let's get into it. So first, what even is a workflow? We hear all different kinds of terms thrown around when talking about N8N. We hear workflow, AI agent, automations, but what do people actually mean when saying these things? In this course, we will use the term workflow and automations interchangeably to refer to a system or systems that perform repetitive tasks automatically, eliminating manual effort and reducing human error and free up valuable time. An easy example would be constantly checking your email and filtering out junk from potential clients that email you. With N8N, you can build a workflow to monitor your email and return the most valuable ones and notify you automatically. You can even take it a step further and have it draft responses in your tone and with your current business details. So why do we need automations? These automations will free up valuable time for you to focus on pulling the high value lever in your business without getting bogged down by mundane, meaningful tasks. You will reduce the time spent on repetitive tasks and increase productivity. Have you ever wished there were two of you in your business? In this course, we will give you the tools and knowledge to accomplish exactly that. I've mentioned N8N a few times, but what even is it? N8N is an open source workflow automation tool that allows you to connect different applications, services, and APIs to automate tasks without writing code. Its easy drag and drop style interface allows you to connect any application such as Stripe, Google Calendar, and even full AI agents using ChatGPT. So you will no longer need 10 years of developer experience to leverage AI and create meaningful automations to increase your output. N8N was started in 2019 as a GitHub project, but quickly rose in popularity due to its ease of use. So why are we choosing N8N over competitors? There are a few competitors, Zapier and Make.com to name a few, aiming to do the same, but N8N seems to take the cake. This course will start out in the cloud-hosted version, and within a few clicks, you can be up and running making automations. N8N's cloud-hosted version is the cheapest amongst all competitors while offering the most customization and control. At just $20 a month, you can get going on the cloud version. N8N also offers open source flexibility, so you can download it and run it completely for free locally, which other competitors do not allow. N8N also natively offers over 400 different connections to the applications you are using. If it does not natively offer it, then with no code, we can easily set up paths to those applications as well. Cloud versus self-hosting, we will go over this in more detail within the course, but with N8N being open source, that means you can download the entire environment for free. This course, like I mentioned, will start out learning the basics on the cloud version. The cloud offers convenience, instant setup, and zero server management. After the basics, we will go over how to run locally in this course. Running locally gives you greater customization, control, and security if you have company-specific data that needs protecting. There are several options to run locally, such as Celestio and Docker. If you don't know what either of those two are, that is completely okay, as they're very easy to use and will be covered in this course. Now that we have N8N covered, what is an actual workflow within N8N? A workflow is like a recipe that tells your computer how to complete a task automatically. It will be a collection of nodes, as N8N calls them, containing a trigger or the kickoff, an action, and a decision. For example, if your business has a website with a form for new leads to fill out, a trigger kicks off the workflow when a new customer fills out a form on your website. The action would be to save their information to your CRM and notify your sales team. A decision would be, did they check the I want to subscribe to the newsletter box? Yes. Path. Add their email to your newsletter mailing list. No. Path. Only send them thank you for contacting us. And as you can see from this workflow, both paths converge to send the customer a thank you for submitting their information, as well as sends a notification to your team telling them a new customer has entered the databases. Core concepts of automation. Working within N8N and becoming your own AI developer is 99% of proper planning and data transformation. If you can map it out and you can get the data, you can automate it. This will go directly into using triggers to kick off the workflow, filtering, or making a decision on the incoming data, taking an action with the data, or getting more data. In the next module, we will set up everything needed to be successful and self-sufficient, building AI automations and workflows within N8N. Now, to build our first workflow, we have to have a starting point or a way to activate our workflow. And in N8N, those are called triggers. Now, to start building your first workflow and add your first node, you can click either the plus buttons here, or simply click tab, all of which will open up the nodes panel and give you all the potential options to select from. And through this panel, you'll be able to select from all different kinds of nodes. And whenever I say nodes, a node is just a visual representation of an event happening in a workflow. This can be how we activate our workflows or triggers. It can also be actions or decisions within the workflows that we're making. We'll always need to have a trigger to activate our workflow, and this can be as simple as a manual trigger. We'll select that here. This will mainly be used when you're testing or developing workflows, and as the description states, you can kick it off or activate any of the nodes following this trigger by simply clicking Test Workflow. There are many different other ways to activate your workflows, and these will be the way you trigger your workflow once it's in production, one of which is on a schedule. And on a schedule is exactly how it states. The automation will be ran at a specific time, and once you activate and publish this workflow, everything after this trigger will be activated and ran on the specific time. So you can go to days, minutes, seconds, and months even. So say, for example, you wanted an automation to run every week on Sunday. This is how that would be set up. You can change the time at which it runs. So this is showing a workflow that will be activated and running every Sunday at 8 p.m. Another trigger is on app event. And this will show all of the natively supported N8N apps that have triggers available. So if we scroll down and we choose Google Drive, we can do on changes involving a specific folder, and you can click the time in which you want this activated. So for every day, you'll click the folder and what to watch for. So if you wanted to watch a specific folder within your Google Drive and trigger a workflow to activate once a file is added, you could click File Created, and this workflow will kick off whenever a new file is added to that folder. Next, we have on webhook call and on form submission. We'll be going over these a little bit more later, but a webhook call allows you to talk to externally activated services to pass information back and forth from externally hosted applications. So anything not natively supported within the N8N applications, you can connect via webhook, which will be a little bit more intricate, but trust me, it's not that hard and not as daunting as it seems. For the on-form submissions, you'll be able to set up a quick form within N8N to be able to pass information to your workflows. So you give it a form title, form, name, and you'll be able to test this and also add it to a production URL, and you'll be able to pass information such as your name to your workflows. And then the last two, which we'll be using in this course, will be when executed by another workflow and on chat message. So when executed by another workflow, we can allow certain workflows to trigger other workflows, which really helps make our automations robust and helps with the reusability. So for instance, let's say you build a workflow of adding documents to a Google Drive or to a database. You can reuse that for other workflows that could be outputting the same data that you want to be entered into that same workflow. And then also on chat message, this will be very useful whenever you're adding AI agents. You can simply chat with the workflow and you'll see that it's outputted here. And next we're going to be talking about the nodes that follow up this trigger and that are going to be activated by the trigger. So this will be all of our actions and decisions and really the meat and potatoes of our workflows. So now that we have covered triggers, we're going to jump into the building blocks of N8N automations, or nodes as they're called. In the world of N8N, a node is simply an individual step within your workflow. In this video, we're going to be talking about action nodes, and action nodes perform tasks once your workflow has been triggered. So we'll add a trigger here, and we'll just go with the click trigger. And it's going to be anything that happens after this trigger. These action nodes can execute operations like sending emails, getting information from applications, updating databases, or posting on social media platforms. There's many things you can do with action nodes, And for the example in this video, we're going to use a Google Sheets node. So we'll go ahead and click the plus sign here and go to Google Sheets. Here, and you can see all the document actions and even have sheet within document actions. So you can create a spreadsheet, delete a spreadsheet, or within a specific document that you've already created, which is the example we're going to be going over here, you can do this whole list of actions. So I actually have a Google Sheet already pre-made. Here's the Google Sheet that I already have pre-made with dummy data in it. We have name, email, and company. And you'll notice that not every customer has a company, and that will make sense here in a few seconds. So jumping back over to N8N, we're going to get rows in a sheet. Now first, you are going to need to set up your Google credentials, and let's go ahead and get into that now. It'll prompt you here. Quickest way to go through this is you go to this open docs. That will bring you to the scary N8N documentation. But don't worry, we're not going to be going into it. It's just the quickest way to go to it. So it says create a Google Cloud account. I already have one. Most of you all do. If you don't, it's a very quick, simple process. And then I'm going to be going to the console. So once here, I can click on this and I'm going to create a new project. My new project is going to be called N8N and create. And this new project is created. And you can see once you see this up here on the left that you are in this specific project. And click this menu. We are going to be working in the APIs and services. We need to go first to OAuth consent screen. And then once you get to the overview, you'll see get started. Let's go ahead and go right in there. App name, you can name this whatever you want, and put your support email in there. Here it'll ask you if it's internal or external. Click external, and this says available only to a test user with a Google account. That is correct. Contact, you can put another email in here, and finish and continue. Create. Once you're on here, go to your clients, and you will need to create OAuth client ID. This will be web application. You can save this as web application 1, and this is authorized redirect URIs. This is where you'll need to go back to N8N and click this to copy, add URI, and create. And this will create your client ID. You can see it in here. When you click into here, you can see your client ID, copy that, paste it, and then your secret. And y'all can go ahead and steal that if you want to. I'm going to be deleting it after the video, but just so you have it. Okay, save, but we are not done. So don't go ahead and click sign in with Google as it will not work. You need to set up the rest of your API environment. So go to audience, see it's testing, and you're set to external. You can add test users, add an email, save. And then you need to go to data access. This will give you the scope of what this API connection will be able to have access to. This seems daunting. This will be a lot of the access that this API will have. I'm going to give this API access to everything that I have. You can select specific ones if you know what you're doing. I'm going to leave it at this for now. And then go down to the bottom and save. Let's go back to credentials, sign in. It'll prompt you here, continue. I'm going to select all and continue. And then connection is successful. Okay, so now you think you're good, you're done. However, you're not. You need to go back to the Google console and go back to APIs and services. You need to give it actual access to the specific applications that you're going to be using. You need to go up here and you can search for your specific application that you're going to be using. So we go to Google Drive, it'll be Google Drive API, and you'll see right here, you need to enable this. And you can see right here, it is enabled because the click off would be disable. And you can go through every one of your specific applications that you will need to be using. So you can go to Google Docs API, enable, if you're using Google Docs, obviously. And you can do the same for every single one that you're using. Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Sheets, you get the point. And that is how you successfully set up Google connection. You obviously will need to set up a specific credential for each Google application that you're using. So this says Google Drive account. You'll need to go in and set up a Google Sheets or any other credential that you're looking to set up. Now that you've set up your Google credentials and enabled your Google Sheets API, you'll need to connect these Google credentials here. Now we're going to select the resource as sheet within document, operation get row, from list. We're going to do the customers. And the sheet, there's only one sheet in the document. And this is the internal Google Sheets filter, which we won't be using in this video, but you could filter it to only return a certain set of values, such as if we only wanted to return a specific company or a specific name, you could filter by that. But we want to return all the values. So we'll go ahead and test this step here, and you'll see that it returns all of our customers, name, emails, and if they have a company or not. So the action nodes of our workflows do all the heavy lifting within our workflows. And to remain in good practice, we're going to name this Get Customers. And you'll want to always name or rename your nodes or triggers as it's coding best practice, as well as once your workflows get a little bit more complex and you're using code nodes, those code nodes will call on the name of the actual node to pass the data back and forth. We'll name that Get Customers. Now next, we're going to talk about logic or decision nodes. And these nodes allow your workflow to make decisions or handle complex data transformations. They guide the workflow path based on conditions you set. Examples such as like an if node or a set node or even a switch node. An if node directs the workflows based on conditions like yes/no paths. A set node sets the actual data points and data values within your workflow. A switch node routes the workflow in multiple directions based on different conditions. And logic nodes add intelligence or flexibility to your workflows. So to go into a decision node, we can do an if node. And you see that once we connect it to the Google Sheets node, all the Google Sheets data output is on the left side here, and any data that is returned from this node is outputted here. And that is the usual setup. And you can see that it's in 3 different versions: the schema version, table version, which is a nice visual representation, and then the JSON version. So using this if node, we can take this value. So we can go ahead and drag this company over here. And this is the nice thing about N8N is the drag and drop feature. So you can drag and drop any of these outputs here and put them into your node that you're working with. So it truly makes it a no-code option for anyone getting started. So we can click this drop down, and we have multiple different ways to transform this data or filter it down or send it on different paths based on this logic here. We can do a string, and we can do any of these matches: ends with, starts with, is empty, does not exist. And for this, we're going to go with is not empty. So we're going to be filtering by if there is data within that company value, is not empty. And then we can go ahead and test the step to see if we're actually true here. And it only returned the values that have a company name in there. And you'll notice that there's a true branch and a false branch. So these are all the customers that do not have a company. And it makes it nice to where you can send these down different paths, which we'll see here. Move this over, and you can see that we have 3 items in the true column and 2 items on the false. So we can take the true here and add another action node, which would be send them a Gmail. So we can type in Gmail. And like you can see a lot of message actions, label actions, draft actions, and thread actions. You could also have a Gmail trigger with the on message received. And that's how you would build a workflow that monitors your Gmail. But for now, we're going to send a message. And with the Google OAuth that you just set up, you'll need to make sure that your Gmail API is actually enabled. And then you can go ahead and set up your credential. Then we'll do resource, message, operation send. And right here, we will do the email here. And if you wanted a dynamic subject, you could also do that as well. But we will do test message. And for the most part, whenever you're doing tests to a workflow or just trying to build something, you can put your personal email here as a fixed, hard-coded in variable just to see the message that you're sending and make sure that your workflow is working properly. I know these are dummy emails, so I'm not too worried about it. You can do email type, HTML, and this will be your email message. And we're going to put thank you. But if you wanted to make this truly dynamic, you could also add different resources, different nodes to fill out this for you. And then also you can add CCs, attachments. You could really make this thing very robust and very professional. Now that we have this part set up, we can look at the executions tab, and we can see every time that we actually tested this or that we ran the workflow. So we'll show the workflow and what it looked like at that certain time. And this is really nice whenever you're debugging or you have an error for some reason and going back and seeing what the error was. Another very valuable thing with the executions tab is, say you're using a paid for subscription or API and you're constantly pulling data from there and you don't want to rack up all your tokens, you can actually go to this editor and you can do copy to editor. And this will paste all of your data inputs and outputs into the editor. And now you see this purple pin here. That means that this data is pinned. And it won't make much sense since this is a manual trigger, so we can unpin this. But say you wanted to pin this data. And you always wanted to work with this constant data to be able to work on this node or any following nodes. You can pin this data here, and no matter if we deleted it, like say we delete there's no more data in here, this will stay constant and this will stay up, and it makes it very nice to be able to work with this. So you see it's back up here, and we can test this step, and you see it runs perfectly with the pin data, just as it would if you ran the entire workflow. So that's a very good habit to get into. Once you're building out each node, to test each node as you're building them, instead of building it all at once and then testing it at the very end. It helps have a lot more control and a lot more insight into what the actual workflow is doing and how it's functioning. So for the next video, we're going to be starting our case study and building an entire workflow and automation from a real world problem, and starting with the problem and ending with a full automation.